Well, as the lockdown continues around the world, I hope that you're doing well. The theme of our broadcast today is leadership. Many of you are hearing a daily broadcast from a government leader, a prime minister or a president or someone in authority giving an update on what on earth's going on, how they're doing the best they can to resolve this and how they're instructing members of the population to behave. So today we're going to be thinking about our leaders and how we can pray for them. The scripture, or one of them you could look at, is in the first letter of Timothy, chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. I urge then, first of all, that requests, prayers, intercession and thanksgiving be made for everyone, for kings and for all those in authority, that we may live peaceful, quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. So we're instructed to pray for those in leadership. Now, I've been involved in leadership for most of my adult life, and I know how easy it is for people who are not in leadership to criticise those who are. People who don't have access to all the information, people who suddenly become experts in every area of life and know what they would do if they were leading. My experience is when you give folk like that an opportunity to lead, they make the same kind of mess that everybody else makes when they're trying to lead. So as far as I can tell, no president, no prime minister, no government of any developed country is really trying to get this wrong. They're trying their best to get it right. The challenge, of course, is that mostly our politics is adversarial. Democrat versus Republican, Labour versus Conservative, Liberal and Labour in Australia. The great challenge is that the opposition always opposes. That's what it's supposed to do. But in times like this, it can appear carping and destructive. No one knows what to do or what's the best. Of course, at the end of all this, we might all say, goodness, the cure was worse than the disease. That's for another day. Of course, there'll need to be reflection, thinking about how we've handled this, and there'll certainly be a lot of thought about how to prepare for another pandemic in the years to come. But for right now, the thing to do is to pray for our leaders, to realise they've got a terribly difficult job. Scientific opinion, which they say they're following, is often very divided, and so they have to pick and choose between various scientific views. Their job is one of judgment, of minimising pain and maximising the crushing of the life of the virus. Our leaders have got a terribly difficult job, whoever they are. You can read more about leadership problems in the book of Deuteronomy or in Exodus in the Old Testament. You might want to look up how many times the word grumbling appears in those books. Moses had a terrible job with the people of Israel going through the desert, drifting from one crisis to another and always complaining and moaning about something. Well, we don't want to be those kind of people. Our leaders need our prayer support and they need our encouragement. You might want to write to your prime minister or president with a word of encouragement. You want to thank them for what they're trying to do. You might want to remember this verse in Timothy and think about how hard it is to weigh up the various options and to make judgments about people's lives. I'm sure many of them aren't sleeping well at night and struggling with the decisions that they have to make. So today, try to avoid, when you watch your presidential or prime ministerial broadcast, not to be overly critical, but to pray for them and the huge decisions they have to make. Never mind whether you voted for them or not, whether you approve of them personally or not. The challenge here in Timothy is that we should be praying for those in authority. They certainly need it at this time. They know things we don't know. And most of them are doing their best to act honourably for the good of all of us. Please today take a moment to pray for our leaders.